Hello there, beautiful souls and beautiful humans. I am RozyGlow, and today I'm making a video about what multidimensional consciousness is from my perspective, and the 3D, 4D, and 5D frequencies in terms of density, in terms of where do you most resonate as a human right now on this consciousness bridge from the old world to the new one. So we're going to be exploring 3D, 4D, and 5D and what multidimensional consciousness is, because they are different. So do stay tuned to receive all of this information. And my intention is to simplify everything as much as possible. So I'm starting off by saying everything I'm saying right now is right and it is wrong. I'm simplifying things in such a way that will allow us to create some kind of structure in our minds that helps us to understand where we're resonating, so we can then make a choice about where we want to go next. And for those of you who are here seeking to support this planet's ascension, who are on an awakening journey, who are star seeds that maybe don't know your star seeds, this is really important information, because as always, we can't go from one state to another without going through a journey. And everything is necessary on this journey. But what's important is to recognize where we easily get stuck and how to get unstuck, what it's actually going to be required to do that. So do stay tuned, and please remember to comment. Let me know what you make of everything I've said. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments so I can actually make future videos and address those questions. And thank you also for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Thank you for hitting the notifications tab and going for those all videos so that you know every time I'm here with something new. I am a channel of divine grace. I work with awakening humans who are ready to be soul-led and therefore to let go of their early life conditioning that holds them back, and to live the most extreme version, if you like, of what is possible in terms of most graceful, easy, and joyful path. So if you like the sound of that, thanks for the like. Let's get going. So one thing that's important is something I say in my coaching all of the time is it's not either or, it's and this and more. So everything I say now is to allow us to understand diversity within wholeness, is to accept that everything is coexisting. Why is this so important in today's age? Well, to move beyond conflict, to move beyond struggle, to move beyond war as a solution to different opinions, we're required to embrace something called dynamic peace. Now, this is something that I've coined. I'm sure others might have said it as well, but for me, dynamic peace is a state that we embrace conflict as a route to peace. So by that, I mean as a pathway. So instead of contracting, instead of trying to step away from everything that's uncomfortable and unfamiliar and the things that we're scared of, we lean into it, we get curious, and we look at the idea that we can create resolution by seeking the highest good of all and the win-win-win. And this is where we go from programmed state, where we believe just because the way things have been in the past doesn't mean things have to be like that in the future. So, I mean, we can look to the past and say this is the way it's always been, therefore it's the way it always will be. No, those of us who are here to shift the course of history, to create our story, not even her story, because we're past the his and hers, we want to move into unified consciousness. This is now the time of uniarchy. What we want to do is really to learn to use the challenges that we face as spiritual beings in physical bodies to embrace the whole, to come into unity consciousness. And that's what this is really about. So we're seeking the highest good of all and the win-win-win in everything. And this is the path of internal authority and divinity being within us. So we're not looking outside of ourselves for the answers. And this is where 3D, 4D, and 5D comes in. Also, having a sense of humor and embracing that paradox is a way of life. And, you know, my early life, I was a Reiki master and a yoga teacher, become a specialist yoga teacher in fertility, pregnancy, birth, postnatal, babies, toddlers, teens. So very much understanding this early time and how it shapes us. And anyone who's done any yoga or looked at yoga philosophy or trained in yoga knows that there's a lot of paradoxes that we embrace in this human form. So sense of humor, very, very important. Okay, so let's look at the conditioned self first. Let's look at 3D, third density consciousness. Now, there is a difference between dimensions and density. And a lot of the time in spiritual communities, we're talking about dimensions when really we mean density. So when I'm talking about 3D, 4D, and 5D, I'm talking about vibrational frequency shifts. Okay. So I've seen others create amazing videos where they've talked about the difference between density and dimensions. And I'm not going to go too much into that now, but I will put a link to one I found that I thought was very interesting. What I would say to us is this: density is vibrational frequency. Within a vibrational frequency, there are different dimensions, if you like. There are different rooms within the if you look at things in terms of a building, okay, and the different floors of a building, you've got different rooms within the floor. The floor is the vibrational frequency, the density. And then the rooms within that floor are different dimensions within that density. And also dimensions can mean lots of other things, which is how I'm going to explain it today from the perspective of my multidimensional consciousness training programs that I offer, and also in terms of the multidimensional yoga that I offer. But the thing I think is most important for all of us to understand is if we want to move beyond duality into unity consciousness, it's important to remember that all perspectives are valid. They're all coexisting. So, you know, it's the third density, if you like, that will judge things as good or bad. Duality exists in third density. We then move beyond this and we start asking that question, well, what's for the best here, right? Do we need to judge everything as good or bad? Can we actually just seek here to understand that polarity is necessary for us to define form? So for example, night and day, that's a polarity concept, whereas night is bad, day is good would be a judgment. You get what I'm saying here? So that would be duality consciousness. This is good, this is bad. We want to move beyond that. So if you're with me so far, well done. Take a deep breath in and a long breath out. Whew. All right, let's move into a bit more about the conditioned self in 3D. So if you've seen the movies, The Matrix, the different movies in The Matrix, I would go with what Bruce Lipton said, and that they're not actually movies, they're documentaries. So the red pill, the blue pill, you know, do you want to stay ignorant to what's really going on in the world, or do you want to take the red pill and wake up and see what's really going on? So for me, 3D is keeping in the blue pill. It's keeping in the conformity of your conditioning. It's not rocking the boat. It's basically relying on what you've been taught by your family, by the education system, by your culture, by religion, by society, and playing good, okay, not rocking the boat, not upsetting the apple cart, sticking to, yeah, just towing the line and not questioning too much. And this is part of a soul's journey. Now, the interesting thing about this particular density is it is a density of free will, but we don't realize we have free will. So it's a bit like the fact that you have a, you know, you can choose what TV channel you're going to watch, right? You get to choose whether you're going to put the TV on, you get to choose what TV channel you're going to watch, or you get to choose if you're going to put the radio on or not, or what radio station you're going to listen to. But ultimately, you're still subjecting yourself to watching and listening to things that then form your opinions about life. They go into your subconscious, they influence you, they influence your expectations, beliefs, behaviors. And, you know, this is the conditioned self, where we are essentially living from our ego programming. Now, ego is not a bad thing. It's our survival programming. It is our early life conditioning from I would say preconception, actually, from my experience, but most of us think in terms of pre-birth, time in the womb, and the first 7 years of life. And that formative time shapes who we think we are, and our personality is based on that time, and that's our self-identity. So when our self-identity gets challenged, we get reactionary, we project, we get fearful. And the third density frequency, if you like, if we're resonating there most of the time, we're very much in our sympathetic nervous system. And what that means is we're in a state of fight, flight, freeze, or fawning for most of the time. And that means we're very easy to manipulate and control through fear. And therefore, you know, the sort of mainstream media, if you like, the sort of channels of information passing to us, all the different channels from technology through to entertainment and media, are heavily influencing who we are without us really questioning that, and really questioning whether we believe these things are true, whether actually we want to conform to them or not. It's very much just do as you're told and don't really think about it. Okay, so, you know, anytime you find yourself in a state of fear, anytime you find yourself in a state of anxiety, stress, what else would I say, depression, and also feeling like you need to make others happy, being hypersensitive to how to keep others from being upset, feeling others' feelings, all this kind of thing. We might not be aware that we're doing it, but this is all part of the sympathetic nervous system response. And this is our what we're seeking to do is to avoid pain at all costs, to minimize every time we feel those things. So 3D and 4D, you know, kind of play together in the same way that 4D and 5D do. So I invite you to consider these densities in terms of a bridge. You've got third density sort of being born into this world, not aware that, you know, we can actually shift our consciousness and therefore shift our experience of life, all the way through to 5D, which is where we do get to be very aware that we're choosing how we co-create our reality consciously and in alignment with our highest self. And then in the middle, you have fourth density, which is the realm of the mind. And, you know, you've got lower fourth all the way to higher fourth and middle fourth, if you like. And it's a very interesting place. Most of the world at the moment is in fourth density. So if we say third density is free will, but primarily governed by fear, as I perceive it, fourth density is the realm of being motivated by love. It's the density of love and compassion. And yet it is also the realm of suffering. Those of us who awaken to the idea that we're empaths, that we're sensitive, anyone who currently is becoming aware of, for example, neurodivergence, neurodiversity, the labels that we're receiving, psychology, religion, spirituality, even, you know, you could say, yeah, what's it called now? The tin hat people. I don't want to say the word too much because I know where I am. But when we're looking at theories of the C type, then, you know, all of this is in the realm of the mind, and the 4D bridge is the realm of the mind. So, you know, for me, fourth density is the realm of the thinker, the mind, questioning, but still conforming to one doctrine or another. You might have been brought up Christian or a particular religion, and you decide to rebel against that. Either you're an atheist or you're an agnostic, or you decide to become a Buddhist. You know, you decide you're something other than what you were conditioned to be, but you're still conforming to something. This is where, you know, I see those who kind of go, for example, to mainstream clubs. You'd say they're the sort of third density types, reality TV, all that kind of thing. And then you've got those who go to alternate clubs. Maybe they go to swingers clubs, or maybe they go to BDSM clubs, or they, you know, they identify as something different, but they're still conforming to something. You know, there's this, there's a form of, you have a uniform, you have a way of labeling and saying, oh, you're this and you're this and you're this. And basically the woke community is very much fourth density. Okay. And again, please be mindful of the fact that I'm not seeking to judge right or wrong. I'm just saying everything is coexisting here. So if I say something and you kind of get a bit about it, that's okay. Take a breath. Why am I saying all this in the first place? I'm saying it so we can unify, so we can accept our diversity. We can accept we're all at different stages of the journey, and actually to have compassion and patience and forgiveness and discernment on our journey, because not all that glitters is gold. And fourth density is, for those of us who are into sort of realms of consciousness, you could say that third density is the physical realm. As I said, it's governed primarily by fear. We give our power away to external authority. And, you know, it is the realm of the five senses, everything that's tangible that we can prove. You know, science has sought to be able to prove everything as existing or not existing, and anything that it doesn't know what to do with, it kind of puts on the shelf. And then, you know, that really came about as a result of religion asking us to believe in things we couldn't see and to conform, because otherwise we would be punished. So it's quite interesting how we have evolved as a global society of humanity. But essentially what I would say with fourth density is this is the realm of the rebel. It's the realm of the indigo. It's a part of awakening. It's when you first take the red pill and go, what? This is crazy. I can't believe everything that I was taught actually isn't true. I can't believe that there are different ways that history can be taught according to different countries where I live. I can't believe that the type of education I have, depending on my socioeconomic status, is going to determine my expectations and what doors are open for me. I can't believe that we didn't all start with the same, you know, opportunities in life. There's all sorts of layers here, and the thinker, you know, can get really, really lost in the mind. So in the fourth density, we need to know things, we need to understand things. We're still seeking to control in order to feel safe. And this is where LOA, law of attraction, exists. This is also where, you know, all sorts of manifesting practices exist, where we're seeking to control the outside without necessarily having understood that the key to that, which is also the key to 5D, is to shift our internal frequency, our internal vibration and expectation. And that means that we need to get our conscious mind and our subconscious to align with our superconscious, which is our higher self, highest self, soul self. So if you're liking the sound of that, give me a like. And if you have any comments on it, do let me know. So psychology very much is the realm of 4D. And actually, you know, newer developments in science kind of take us to 4D, 5D. So when we talk about quantum mechanics, when we talk about epigenetics, when we start to talk beyond what we're still living by, because going back to 3D, the allopathic medical system, you know, the current education system, the various institutions that govern us presently are very much 3D, aiming to get to 4D, but that's where the bridge is. Okay, so one thing that we learn in fourth density is that reality is very much subjective. As we change our view of the world around us changes. Now we can understand that, but not necessarily know how to change it. And that's the thing, is like, we get that things are different. I can read different books, feel different emotions, but I'm still pretty much governed by my conditioning. And here's why. You know, according to neuroscience, we can control our consciousness between 5 and 10% of the time. So if you're relying on your conscious mind, this is where mindfulness comes in, right? So what does that mean? That means for every hour, you can control your reality for 6 minutes, but the rest of your time, the subconscious and the unconscious are in control. Now, unconscious is about adverse reactions to things. You don't even know why, so deeply embedded into your unconscious that you don't understand the motivations for your reactions. Whereas with the subconscious, you could start to understand more about it. Oh, I feel like this because my mum said this to me when I was 3. I had this experience when I was born. You know, you kind of get a sense of why the subconscious operates the way it does. And yet the subconscious is running the show most of the time. So you can understand that, but not necessarily change it. That's why the self-help industry is as prolific as it is, because actually there comes a point when we have to go through a journey of detoxing and reprogramming our subconscious if we want the changes that we seek to have in our lives, that we can somehow manage to make through willpower alone, to actually stick. Because it's one thing to achieve something, it's another thing to maintain it, right? So that's where that all comes in. And I think this is so important for anyone who's yo-yo dieted. You'll know that you can consciously decide you're going to change what you eat. You're going to get back into those size 10 jeans. You can, through willpower alone, you know, control things just long enough to hit your target. But then afterwards, you know, if your self-image relates to the you that is the you that was heavier, that didn't fit into these jeans, then you're not going to maintain it unless you change your self-image, which is going to do, that's going to happen as a result of you shifting your programming, your subconscious programming. Okay, the other thing about 4D, and you know, where we are currently in the awakening process as a global society, is that we're seeking solutions through the mind. So what that actually means is we are seeking to create a solution from a problem-focused mindset. And that's why we keep recreating history. Because when you actually think of this brain is a computer. And if we rely on the brain without activating our imagination to create new solutions and to wonder what else is possible, we can only ever create more of the same. Because that's what this computer is programmed to do, to create more of the same. It might look different on the surface, but it's more of the same. So let's just say you keep attracting partners that are unavailable. They're not interested. They're not committed. They might look different. They could be tall, short. They could be bigger. They could be smaller. They could be older, younger. But in the end, it's the same story, because your story hasn't changed. Your expectations are the same. You can change the packaging, but you're not going to be changing the internal experience. Now, as I said, in fourth density, the results are limited, and so much exists in it. A lot of spiritual new age stuff exists in it, just as dogma and religion exists in it as well. But you've got questioners in the fourth density. I think that's how I perceive it. Okay, lots of questioning, lots of desiring things to be different and seeking solutions. So, you know, it's like the journey. third density, or 3D, is the realm of the body and the senses and just reactionary responses. Fourth density is the realm of the mind. So we defer out of the physical body. We prefer to be in the mind because we don't necessarily feel safe in the body. We're constantly seeking solutions, as I said, and seeking to understand things better. Knowledge is power. There can be lots of arguing, philosophizing, contemplating, questioning, but we're more or less doing this. We're not going very fast. We're on the A road, okay, in terms of ascension, slow progress. And for me, that was the realm of when I was a Reiki master and I was a yoga teacher, but I wasn't a coach that specialized in emotional mental detox and specialized in deprogramming and reprogramming the subconscious. So, you know, my results were limited. I kept showing up, kept trying, but I kept struggling. And that's another element of 4D, is the struggle, the fight. We're fighting to find a cure for something. We're struggling to change things. Trying to make a difference in this world. And I get it, okay? It's not like we don't have to actually put force and pressure to shift things. It's just, where are we coming from? The brain and the mind, they're not the same, but they're related to each other, is still governing the heart and the physiology of the body rather than the other way around. A very interesting thing that relates to entertainment is that when it comes to our imagination, when it comes to us watching something on TV, the brain can't tell the difference between what is real and what is imagined. So, if you watch a horror movie, for example, you're gonna, get the feeling sensations of fear, of the heckles going up, etc. Now that's a physiological response. It's a movie, but you're still having a physiological response, which actually is stressing you out. It's eroding your immune system. It's not good for you, right? So it's something to consider for everyone who loves a crime drama, loves the sort of gory stuff that is adrenaline dominant, because again, this is telling us about our conditioning, how much we like to stress ourselves out when we're actually relaxing. Interesting, eh? And our addiction to adrenaline actually starts in the womb. Okay, so we're either oxytocin or adrenaline dominant, oxytocin being love hormone, adrenaline being the stress hormone. And there's a whole load of hormones that go with these, by the way. I'm simplifying, remember. But essentially, as a world, as a global society currently, we're wired to survive rather than thrive. And if we want to move into fifth density frequencies, if we want that to be our vibration and create a new earth paradigm, then we need to shift our fuel from adrenaline to oxytocin. And the way to do that is through fourth density. It is through the mind. It is through using the mind differently. Instead of the mind governing everything, we defer to the heart governing the mind, knowing that through heart math, we've proven that there are more receptor cells sending information from the heart to the mind, or to the brain. Sorry, the mind's out there, the brain's here, from the heart to the brain, then from the brain to the heart. So we know things before they happen, which is also very interesting, right? We sense things. We have an intuition. You will have heard of perhaps the gut brain and the heart brain, as well as this brain, right? So we're learning that we are multi-consciousness, multi-density, multi-dimensional consciousness. There's all this fascinating stuff about us. Let's get into 5D. So 5D for me is when we use the realm of the imagination. We go, right, this is what we've known so far. What else is possible? I know what I don't want. So if I know what I don't want, I can create what I do want. In fourth density, we're still talking about the problem all the time. There's a problem with racism. There's a problem with sexism. There's a problem with socioeconomic status. There's a problem with ageism. There's a problem with fatism. There's a problem with all sorts of isms, right? And, here we are currently contemplating all sorts around gender identity and sexual orientation. It's huge presently, but we're doing so much finger pointing. There's so much sensitivity. Really, we want to ask the question, how can we be inclusive, and how can we also, get real about certain stuff and own the reality, the polarity, if you like, not the judgment, but the polarity that's necessary in order for us to be able to accept our differences and our similarities. So into 5D, we have a solution-focused mindset. We use the power of our imagination. Instead of actually deferring to the mind and thinking and trying to find solutions from a problem-focused mindset, we get into our creativity studio. For me, it's a sphere of compassion. I teach this in my full moon manifesting meditations and world service. It's like, okay, what is the feeling vibration that I want to experience? What is the reality that I would like to create? If I don't like the way schools educate children, what would I like to see instead? right? What would the solution be? If I don't like the current health system, how would I like it to be? If I don't like the current economic system, how would I like it to be? If I see inequality in the world, how would I like to see it be? Where am I making judgments? Where am I creating contraction? How can I create more flow? How can I allow everything to exist and focus on what I want to create rather than what the problem is? Because what you focus on grows. So we defer to the heart first in 5D. We allow ourselves to be heart-led, soul-influenced. So your soul, what's your soul? Intangible, right? Your soul is the aspect of you that is eternal. Your soul is the aspect of you that is part of the divine, your inner divine spark, that individual droplet that is you in the ocean of love, that is all that is, the ocean of wisdom that comes from experience, that allows everything to coexist, knowing that we'll all find our way home in the end. The aspect of fifth density is the frequency of wisdom, in the sense that we know that suffering can be a necessary part of change. It can lead to liberation. We can get stuck in it, but we also know that this too shall pass. Pain passes, suffering passes. If we seek solution, we will find it. So co-creating reality through reverse engineering is a huge part of fifth density frequency. Okay, so it's like getting up in the morning, choosing to tune into your higher self before you turn your phone on, before you scroll, before you do anything other than, where am I now? Where do I want to be? How can I most support myself to get in that feeling state in this moment? And you recognize in fifth density or 5D that you are a frequency. Your 100 trillion cells, or less than 100 trillion cells, or more than 100 trillion cells are vibrating at a particular frequency that is sending out energy into your collective. Our collective, it is influencing those around us. So the more we raise our own frequency, the more we clean up our own inner landscape, the more powerful we can be as agents of change. We stop trying to change the outside world. We focus on our inner frequency, on aligning that with where we want to be. And as a result, we have a shift in the world. Our radiating energy magnetizes to us that which we seek to attract. So birds of a feather flock together. You don't need the whole world to adopt a new mindset and frequency for things to change. You need 10% of the population to do it, according to Malcolm Gladwell, who wrote The Tipping Point. And this has been scientifically proven at the Polytechnic of New York. And this was done some time ago. I believe it was New York. Anyway, the point of this is all it takes is enough of us to hold a new frequency, and then everyone else entrains with it. And this is the frequency of being heart-led, soul-influenced, recognizing that we're not just this skin suit. We're not just these five senses, that we have extra sensory perception, that we can actually tune into something beyond what we know, beyond what we were conditioned with, that we can choose to change our experience of reality by changing our perception of ourselves and the world. In this sense, perception is reality. So using the power of imagination to create something new from old, building a feeling-based picture, using all the senses to imagine something new into being, and then cleaning up the resistance. This is key. You can't just imagine a new world, because there'll be parts of you that don't agree with your new world concept, parts of you that feel threatened, i.e. your conditioning, that will want to be met, loved up, dialogued with, transmuted, in order for all parts of you to be in resonance. Okay, so there is internal work that is required to be done. And this is a conscious choice to shift from a vibrational set point in your own frequency. And we're mainly motivated by love, wisdom, and holding the frequency of the new earth for others to entrain with. So those of us who are seeking 5D are earth angels. We are awakened humans, knowing that we are ascended masters walking this earth, living by example. So we're also star seeds, okay? Those of us who are on this journey and leading the way as the trailblazers, the pioneers of the new earth paradigm, are here to envisage the new world, to hold that vision. Those who are on the 4D bridge are the system busters, okay? We are the new system creators in 5D. And trust me, you don't just get born 5D, not yet. It's happening. It will happen as more and more parents learn how important it is to consciously prepare to bring a baby into this world and to raise their own frequency first. By the way, that's one of the things I support parents to do. And I really don't work with everyone, because the reasons why someone wants to have a baby are very, very important to me. Because very often we have unmet needs that, and you know, this is my journey as well, where that make us want to be parents so that we can heal something in us, but we're coming from our wounded self, not our higher self. And this also epitomizes 3D and 4D. So most creatives are in the fourth density. They're in 4D frequencies. They're creating, but they're often creating from their pain body. There are very few who are creating, in the mainstream at least, that are creating from their soul consciousness, from their higher self consciousness. This is why the entertainment industry is so important, because as we actually shift what we put out into the world and we practice what I call conscious creation in terms of entertainment, we're going to have a whole different experience. So just to let you know a little bit about me in terms of, you know, the work that I do before I go into multidimensional consciousness, and actually how that differs from the different densities I've just mentioned. I would just give you a moment to consider, okay, know that all of us are coexisting in all three paradigms. If you are already on this path of ascension, you are awakening, you are someone who considers yourself spiritually tuned in, then remember, you're never going to just be in 5D or 4D or 3D. We oscillate between them all. We all have triggers that pull us back into fear. It could be money, it could be love, it could be health, it could be any number of things. And, you know, we've just come through a very intense period that affected all of us and told us how programmed we were by fear, and how programmed we were determined how compliant we were and whether we rebelled or not. And that's, again, another subject, is the rebellion of 4D is a reaction. It's not a conscious choice. In a way, you go 3D conditioned, 4D rebellion, 5D in your midline, right, where you allow yourself to allow all aspects of your being to coexist, and you choose love and wisdom to win. So I call myself a trusted advisor, a coach and mentor for conscious creatives, and I work with heart-centered professionals seeking to balance their external success, the success they have in the world, with personal fulfillment in self-love, sacred union, relationships, conscious conception, birth and parenting, and family harmony. Now, this is so important, because so often in this world, we're motivated by something that happened to us in early life that make us overachieve or underachieve. So if we're underachieving, we're basically not risking being disappointed, right? And if we overachieve, we're fearful on many levels that whatever we do, it's never good enough, and we actually have something to prove. And so as a result of that, we can end up finding that we have success in certain areas of our lives, but other areas, particularly our inner world, our feelings about ourselves, our relationship with partners, our ability to attract the kind of love that we want, which I call sacred union, or even our capacity to be able to have a healthy, thriving family. All of these things end up becoming issues if the shop front says one thing, but the back end says something else. So I support those who want to be bringing everything into harmony and raising to the highest consciousness, so that we're heart-led, soul-inspired humans. That's my buzz, particularly with the entertainment industry, particularly with those of you who are helping others to ascend. You know, it's so important we're the best vibrational set point we can be, and therefore able to practice integrity, accountability, transparency, compassion, forgiveness, and discernment. And I'm also the founder of the Star Peace movement, and that's a whole other story, but this channel is very much about that, and you can find out more about it by heading to starpeaceconsciousness.com. There's a whole manifesto there. If you like the sound of it, you can sign your name to it. I invite you to do that, please. Join the mailing list there. Look at all the ways that you can contribute to shifting the world's perception from war to peace, from duality to oneness. It's all about the words we say, the things we post, the things we give our energy to. Again, it's all explained in that website. I'm also a Paradise Earth Code keeper. So through my light language, I seed the Paradise Earth codes, the Christ-like miracle codes, the Atlantean Master Teacher codes, and also the Star Peace codes, because all of those are basically bringing to this earth a remembrance of how we can live in harmony with each other, celebrating our differences, but seeking always to align with the highest good and the win-win-win. So I love to work with and welcome awakening humans in positions of power and influence to unleash their massive evolutionary potential by accessing their soul consciousness and living as their highest self. Now, I might be a relative unknown at this point, but I know that my work has influenced the Church of England through people I've worked with. It has influenced the maternity services in several countries around the world, including New Zealand, Russia, Greece, the UK, and in particular, a particular hospital in the UK went from being one of the worst performing maternity units to one of the best. And that was whilst I was involved in working with them for 10 years. And I also have recently found out that my work is influencing probably the most well-known cult in the world. Not yet, it's all happening, but there's something that I've been asked to offer through my work that will be shared within the next week. And, you know, this is the thing about the beauty of just showing up. I'm a channel of divine grace. That means that, you know, through the power of revelation, those who work with me have the kind of aha moments that allow themselves to liberate themselves from their own self-imposed suffering and to see things in a different way, which allows them to break free from the limitations that they have experienced to this point. My own life is my testament, honestly. Like, the shifts that have gone on are phenomenal. Could bang on and on, but let's just quickly move on to multidimensional consciousness. So, as I said, multidimensional is often used to mean multi-density. So let me just explain multidimensional from my perspective. When I'm working with someone and I call myself a multidimensional success coach, or I'm talking about multidimensional yoga, I'm talking about the mind in relation to brains, thoughts, levels of consciousness, including the unconscious, subconscious, conscious, and superconscious. I'm talking about the body, systems of the body, the nervous system, cardiovascular system, endocrine system, digestive, reproductive. I'm also talking about the heart in terms of emotions, feelings, intuition, and I'm talking in terms of soul and spirit, the two being different. Soul being an individualization of spirit, our individual identity, part of the wholeness, and spirit being source, all that is the oneness without any separation. So, you know, I think it's so important because the whole point of multidimensional consciousness is when we're ready, we make the shift to be guided by the eternal aspect of our beingness rather than the temporal, which is, you know, the physical, the finite, the part of us that is going to die, just as the part of us that has been born. So our eternal self never dies. This is our soul consciousness, becomes part of spirit, is part of spirit. And really, it is when we learn to evolve into invoking the unseen, and to allow ourselves to believe that we are co-creating something into reality. And anyone who practices co-creation on any form, manifesting on any form, knows what I mean. So we kind of allow ourselves as multidimensional beings to bring the intangible and the tangible together, the temporal and the eternal together. And that is the beauty of being able to see the world through different lenses, right? To accept it's all coexisting, and then to say, what do I want to give my energy to? Finally, you may or may not know that I offer online multidimensional yoga, and I want to share this with you because my coaching work and the yoga go hand in hand. All right, it's one thing to work with energetics, but if you don't work with the physical as well, this goes for anything you're doing. If you're a healer, you're a therapist, you're a way shower, an influencer, if you're here in this world and you're, you know, a therapist or a teacher, where are you operating from? Is it 4D, 3D, 5D? Now that I've shared this a little bit, where do you feel you're coming from and what you're offering in the world, in the decisions that you make, and what motivates your decisions? Because if you like, 5D, I would say, is how can I? It's wouldn't it be nice if it's just opening up to new possibilities from old, remembering that 3D is very much fear-based, trying to avoid pain. 4D is trying to understand everything and kind of escape our conditioning without necessarily knowing how to do that, right? And deferring to the intellect above all else, when really the answers are in the heart, because that's where the soul communicates from. So in terms of multidimensional yoga, I offer this online so anyone around the world can access it, because for me, it's all about bringing our higher self consciousness into our physical practice. It's having an intention and then weaving that into our physical body, into the consciousness that we're experiencing. So our thought forms, into our feeling states. So you engage your imagination. And this means working with integrating our highest intentions in our physical experience, and training the mind and the brain to the heart, and paying attention to the stories in our bodies that relate to cellular memory and to the subconscious. So if you have injuries or limitations in your practice, this tells you so much. There are so many practices I teach in my coaching that allow you to find out more about what is there. And, you know, duality and oneness are coexisting. So deciding what we wish to focus on, accepting that polarity is required to differentiate through is really important, though recognizing also that judgment relates more to duality and, you know, morality, as well as an interesting conversation that I'll leave for another time. For now, I would like to just invite those of you who are interested in finding out more to check out the text box, because I'll put a few links in there, including the websites that you can check out, the multidimensional yoga you can find out more about. And if you would like to experience the miraculous shifts that are possible from, well, connecting with me one-to-one and actually exploring working potentially with me a bit more in the future, then over this summer, I'm offering one-to-one sessions, 2 specific ones, one that's around belief breakthrough, which is called the StarSeed Activation call, and one which is about receiving your soul guidance and aligning with that as a vibrational set point. And that particular one is called your Divine Destiny Call. And I'll put a link there for you to check out both. And I invite you to take advantage of these offers because I don't usually make them. This is my kind of heart call to reach out to more of my soul tribe because we're growing. And it's so beautiful to be able to have these conversations. So thank you for spending this time with me. I really value your comments. I really value you sharing this video if you resonate with it. And also thank you again for liking and subscribing. That's it for now, my loves. Thank you so much for being with me. Take care.